Hi, thank you for joining me. I'm going to read Finding Boo by Chmura. Dedication. For Boo Shi, my mentor, companion, and friend, in the sorrowful aftermath of the heart-wrenching passing of my little muse, the inimitable Shirley Chmura, your steady companionship and guidance have stoked my creative engine. Sometimes you feel so close, I think we are virtually of one mind. Part 1. Malingering. 7 paths to the thinking tree. Sunday I spied geese flying in formation, and ants marching single file, carrying cuttings. Monday the sound of wooden flutes mimicked the calls of ghosts through mist. Tuesday forest burning pungent for miles, incense sweet in a humble temple. Wednesday the sweat of my labor, salt on my tongue. Thursday my ass warms on sun-baked rock, a kind wind pushing hair from my eyes. Friday workers clocking in and running out, seeking solace in the eternal present. Saturday no closer than the distant stars, no farther than God. The stranger. He came, the stranger, like a season. By the time we acknowledged his presence, we couldn't imagine life without him. He remained a stranger, like a friend, understanding us better than we knew ourselves. He left the stranger, like a universe, expanding within our hearts. First man. Everything was new, no cliches. Sun rose each morning, moon never overstayed a visit. Night sky teemed with light, no ladles, animals, or gods. He believed in himself and those who smelled alike. Fear was immediate and absolute. No angst, no need for solace. One misstep could be his last. One eventually was. He savored the taste of meat, in mind as much as more. Everywhere were trees, but nowhere was lumber. Water fell from sky or sat on earth. He drank it in and bathed in it. He bore heavy loads on knotted shoulders. He lugged what he could not heft. He slept with one eye open and sometimes dreamed of sleep. Every day was an unfinished novel. The time for Socrates. When you guess the can of beans in a jar and win a jar full of beans, when you wake up before your alarm, turn it off and oversleep, when you get a postcard from yourself and it reads, "Wish you were here," when you get so good at keeping secrets you don't even tell yourself, when you have so many smart gadgets your home is smarter than you, when you can hear Paul is dead and the words to Louie Louie, when the full moon deflates and the rainbow flatlines, when you make sense of it all and it makes no sense at all. Winter solstice. I made me very small and quiet. Huddling under a house mouse, we were waiting for winter. We peered into pitch black night, eventually forgetting the dark. All we saw were stars. Fire crackled nearby, the muffled shuffle of slippered feet, the thump of dropped logs. Eager whiskers twitched to a homey aroma. I tugged her tail with all my might. She smelled my fear and stopped in her tracks. Hungry now, we hunted crumbs between the fibers of fraying rugs, morsels melting on my tongue. Sated and sleepy, I burrowed in a ball of fur, warm to snug slumber. New Year. Flocks follow, warmth and water. Instinct is rhythm, hearts tuned to rivers. But some rivers run dry in desert, and some rivers carry order to sea, where waves of anger toss empty expectations like soda bottles. Once I was lava, then I cooled to stone. They say work with what you got. I have rage in spades. People were dying. I claimed myself uncaring. Who was I fooling, if not myself? Humanity needs a kick in the pants, or a hard reboot. Behind us, beyond us, the future comes. A soul can stretch to the edge of infinity before it snaps, and where but heaven is the line to bind it? And who but an angel can thread the needle? And who but a god can master the stitch? These questions make me small. Still I brace for battle. The answers may consume me, but can subdue me? No. The tracker. Leave your car and keys on some journeys. Wisdom is traveling light. A year of meager times, menacing scavengers consumed by hunger. On harrowed ground, the mark of a beast, the stranger. Life on the fringe was hard, but normalcy terrified. Not a friendly face, not a friendly voice, nor a name. What's the idea of motivation, necessity or love? Oh, my ever-living God, must you answer with a question? Thread of snow. My gray soul, a winter cloud, but colder. Paw prints filling fresh with snow, an unstable template. Black wings, wind-written, then they were far, then they were gone. Veil of time peeled away from a shroud. Appeared like a laser between trees, straight in the eye of a smitten sun. Curled up tight and tiny and tight, heart of God, before the Big Bang. A beautiful capitulation. At the point of incision, nausea, pure catharsis. Tears of blood sting you blind, but no worse than bad ideas. Without regret, shameless, amoral, much like returning to square one on a number line. Sometimes I read the news like it's the past, and no history exists that we haven't denied before God. One step beyond hatred is love, and another? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Found something shiny on the road. Did I say shiny? I meant slimy. One touch from the shaky hand you never forget. The power to bind and the will to sunder. Time is precious, you tell me. Then you do some pointless stunt. Scary to think of freedom of malice without judgment. Even by gods, when they pull a beating heart from your frozen soul, make a statue of your grief and tear that mother down. Body double. I need something sharp to open your heart and tap your truth. Hating me for the insinuation into your monologue and finishing your sentences when so often I can't finish my own. Sometimes I feel like an electrified patient with his funny bone removed, or a gull with a belly full of bottle caps. So much is wrong, but where do you start when you're dying? Cover up. Go hide the mountain of ugliness and veils of fog, or presentiments of obfuscations and mirrors, or cash, voided checks and vouchers, or uniforms, firearms, and handcuffs, or race, gin, drawn tight as a drum over steel, or fashion, burkinis and heels, lace and lattes, or art, oil seeping a stretched canvas, bison speared in caves, or music, wooden flutes filling valleys and wireless earbuds, or magic, myth, and mayhem. Blindsided. The blind side, behind your back or your mind, and its residents chosen for you or by you. They say hindsight is 20/20, but how do you measure blind sight? Do you need to go far before it doesn't matter if your eyes are closed or open? Blindfolded justice keeps a balanced scale. Your innocence may be presumed, but who tarries the weights? I've tried sleeping with one eye open, but still I woke, covered in cobwebs. I've blinked and missed meteors and sucker punches. I've spied and lost nirvana like a thief in a subway movie chase scene. I've misplaced myself playing peekaboo without a partner. I've finger-painted an aura with my own blood. God to go. I carried my God in a burlap sack on a stick over my shoulder. I carried my God in a paper bag as a child with no lunch money. I carried my God in knotted plastic like a goldfish prize at the fair. I carried my God in a monogrammed briefcase to work where I lied and cheated to get ahead. I carried my God in a reusable grocery tote, tossing namaste at cashiers like loose change. I carried my God in tight pants that set off my car alarm when I bent over. I carried my God in my wallet, and yet my credit card still got denied. I carried my God in a phone app, but ran out of free cloud storage. I carried my God in my glove box, in a pouch of expired registration cards. I carried my God in a paper cup that read, "We are happy to serve you." I carried my God like a watch on a chain, laughing at the phrase, "keeping time." I carried my God in Nietzsche and Hegel, despising Nietzsche for hating Hegel, even though both said God is dead. Soul searching. When God sends angels to earth, do they come willingly or coerced? And if you pay them no heed, do they go back and rat you out? Once I saw angels reforming from ether, and I tried to elude them by time travel. Might as well have been a deer hiding from wolves under a full moon. Might as well hide from your true self by draping all your mirrors. What is harder, diamonds beneath mountains under sea, or the human heart? And when it cracks, does it shine half as bright as the light it traps within? Tutti frutti. People with pet names, pets with people names, flooring the gas to pass, then hitting the brakes. Set softly on a puffy cloud to view the vortex of earthly chaos, prescribing painkillers instead of truth serum. God probably wants a hug sometimes, but the gravity would crush us. Pre-traumatic stress order, craving likes from phony friends. Knowing jack about nothing, but branding others ignorant sheep. Hunting the hunter and changing out fierce eyes for glass. Good and evil. Water cuts and rock yields. Pools the blessed may never see. Drink, human. All the while earth is dancing pirouettes, tireless. Lifetimes pass. Love works a way through the heart, distilled spirit. Think, human. Histories of misdeeds and miscues, strangled by chains and wire. Someone you know will be boiled and skinned alive for the sins of a stranger. Scream, human. And the will rising from fire annealed, hard as diamond, fragile as glass. Some will live on rainbows, sipping nectar and berry wine, by grace alone. Dream, human. You thought you knew. You have eyes of a hawk, piercing precisely space and time, and night vision glasses to boot, military grade, but spirit will stand before you and punch you right in the nose. Walk outside, squint at a blameless blue sky, crisscrossed with vapor trails, but not a plane in sight. Wind gust grabs your cap, testing your reflex. Spirit has tarried while you slept. Lemmings cliff diving, chasing the spirit, junkies flushing veins, trying to feed the spirit. Rocks and axes, guns and fire, poking the spirit. Spirit's getting itchy. Scratch. Surveying debris fields, shrapnel of bad decisions. Puzzling a pattern spirit can read. Presumed guilt or innocence. Limitation of statutes. Spirit passes judgment or surpasses. Space food. Science wants to grow food in space. I'm thinking, as it is, I can't even afford organic lettuce at Whole Foods. But if they do start space farming, I want to be the guy who puts little helmets on honeybees so they can breathe better air than they get on Earth. Inside out. In my hand, an empty cup. Very quiet. No breeze. No dust. But I didn't realize until I broke my nose in mid-stride I was behind glass. Dog wishes. My dog wishes she could talk so she could tell me to shut up when I talk to her like a baby. My dog wishes the belly rubs would stop when she's ready instead of me. My dog wishes she could see through her cataracts the puppy love of my pride and approbation when she does a good girl, or how she used to look back from her explorations to make sure I was still there, even though she had me on a leash. My dog wishes she had the heart of a lion, figuratively, instead of the oversized organ that sputters unwieldy in her tender chest. My dog wishes there were no thunder, fireworks, vacuums, vets, needles, pills, cats, rabbits, other dogs, mail trucks, garbage trucks, street sweepers, Jehovah's Witnesses. My dog wishes every night was chicken fat and prime rib. The silent man, staring into a forgotten or imagined past, sour face scrunched, tilted head nodding, shaky arm bent, palm up, fingers half curled, lips parted on the cusp of speech. Put him on a crowded subway car, and seats would stay open beside him. Set him on stone in a musée, dilettantes guess at your motivation. Leave him in the lecture hall, shut the door and lights. Seat him in the cafe, espresso cup holding the dregs of his thoughts. Place him in his park, now it is a Zen garden. Park him at a desk in a room full of clock watchers. Cuff him and threaten his family. Land him on the moon, just for fun. Darjeeling. Sneering at half a cup of unsweetened tea, as if it's full of responsibility for every misconnection, living in the moment, lapping the leafy liquors to brew and brood, a sense of place, branch and root, and the earth beneath. But what can I really understand of Darjeeling beyond a sip and a wiki? I like to think I know better. Nothing is everything. If someone takes time to make you coffee on the stove, pour it and plate it, and serve you honorably, take that first sip, grin and nod knowingly, like you're sharing a secret, even if that coffee maker is yourself. It's nothing but respecting the being, which is the universe, which is everything. Ready to believe. Done trying, done fighting, ready to believe. No beginning, no grieving, just ready to believe. Slogged 1,000 miles, damp and dirty, and ready to believe. Bankrupt and corrupted, sold a vote for shoes, so ready to believe. Nobody cares, nobody dares when ready to believe. Taking a second for a second opinion, not quite ready to believe. Gun to the skull or cliff hanging, surely ready to believe. Out of options, out of arguments, more than ready to believe. Under the shrouded sheet, body bag zipped, way past ready to believe. Not worth my pity. There is no peace like the sleep of the slain. To the discordant mind, hatred is harmonic. If I had an axe right now in my hand or my brain, bone or wood would be in different media, unless the contact stung my fingers, washing the blood in a river of bleach. I'm used to God. I hate to sound cynical, but you were always there for me, and I was here. Isn't this terrible? I proofread this so many times. If I had and axe, I can't believe I did that. That's so bad. If only, then one, so be it. If only one, then one, so be it. If merely two or three, then two or three, so be it. If just 4 or 5, then 4 or 5, so be it. If barely 6 or 7 true, then 6 or 7 true, so be it. If 8 or 9 are turning, then 8 or 9 will turn, so be it. If it must be 10, then 10 it is, so be it. Then, amen. Authority. Lion's paw deep in a flank, those who have tasted strength. Pounding drums make it rain, those who have tasted knowledge. Palms up over sown rows, release the grain to grow, those who have tasted belief. Naming the creatures of man's dominion, those who have tasted order. Calloused fingers grab a fretless neck, those who have tasted labor. A puff voice into a shell on the shore, wait for wind and weather, those who have tasted empathy. The dancing bee, the smitten heart, those who have tasted sweetness. Conductors and police, wielding batons, those who have tasted command. Eagle surveying on the wing, those who have tasted solitude. By the power vested in me, I absolve and dissolve the sinful state. Last day for Shirley Chmura, my little girl Shirley. Last day. A note on you, my little one. I've lost blood, yet I count it no sacrilege to say I've never lost anyone so close as you. I didn't want you, theoretically, until the second I knew you. But now I want every second with you to last forever. You cling to your life like you cling to my chest, stirring thunder. With the strength of the fighter you always were, a tiny tot in a big world. I suppose has to be feisty, stealing socks, stealing hearts, including mine. So, as your breath becomes labored and the meager light that penetrates your half-blind eyes fails to focus meaningfully, and the muscle memory of the puppy in you rolls you halfway over for just one more belly rub, hear my pledge and never forget. I will always love you. I promise, until my own last day, surely. Boy, that's so hard. That is so hard. It really is. Get over yourself. Trampling roses planted by another, or another you, in another life, an honor or a tribute to keep the memory of a promise fresh. But when it rains for years and the places we visited are overgrown by leafier vines and fail to flower in the seasons of doubts, when a man is dead a decade longer than he lived, is there any of his trauma left to mourn that isn't a projection of the ghost that we've become in the distance, measured by the souls we've shed and achingly replenished? To get over our grief, we must get over our lost selves. A poem like this is, like, full disclosure, very hard to read out loud because I work so hard on enjambment and syntax and ambivalence that I could read it 10 times and put stresses on different lines, line breaks, and so forth. So I appreciate you bearing with me as I do my best to turn something that's very ethereal into something that's physically of the air. Filter. I laid on hands a dying man, a well-known stranger, inhaling his sin like heroin, breathing out his bloated soul, filling with grace. He died smiling, but if you gutted me at that moment, you'd be ankle deep in venom. Sequestering Satan, is it worth the sacrifice, a cure of such vulgarity? Did God ever bless you with a curse and bid you scream silently? I have a lead box full of used dream catchers I'm afraid to unburden. I call it Pandora, opening my fist and clenching again, like a mouth of fronds swaying on a seabed, sustainable, rhythmic, respiring, alive, but a creature bounded by habit, an environment returning from space to form, uncommon alliances, theoretical imperatives, infinitesimal differences. Science is making microbes eat plastic bottles and poop bags, a darker shade of God, projecting palms to the sun, embracing this moment is apolitical. Like the buzzard's brain, plunged neck deep in filth, inconsiderate. Such is the hunger of inference unbound. Philosophy is cracking, beak on bone. Truth is marrow. I cannot make you come, saith the Lord, but the pull is primal, prejudicial, unrelenting as gravity on smaller masses, the unsoundness of sanity. The Lost Book of Genesis. In boredom's peak, a gloomy God grabbed the world of atoms, squished it flat, scooped it up again, and made a ball. God bounced that ball around the universe for countless eons, between the legs, behind the back, but one day, staring at that ball spinning perpetually on a finger with no audience, God got bored again, scraped some skin off that orb and rolled it between fingertips like a booger you can flick a million times, but it sticks forever, annoying as well as disgusting. And on that day, God made the devil from the icky booger ball, and the icky booger ball, and devil watched God's tricks, but he was learning too. And one day the devil shouted, "I'm open, throw it here." And without a second thought, God passed devil the ball. Now devil tried some tricks and was getting good like God, and God got jealous. So God, he made men in his own image, and he gave each one a booger ball. And ever since, the devil's been chasing God's balls down a hall of mirrors. Devil doesn't think of good and evil. Devil says please and thank you, but doesn't mean it. Devil doesn't miss you when you're gone. Devil doesn't need malpractice insurance. Devil doesn't let you borrow an eraser. Devil doesn't feel pain. Devil doesn't feel your pain. Devil doesn't lie if the truth is worse. Devil's face doesn't reflect in still water, but in a sea of red caps. Devil doesn't use guilt as much as God. Devil doesn't leave you time to think. Crossing the line. Leaps of faith are always hypothetical. Translating unwritten diaries and dead languages, accelerating through hidden driveway signs. For millennia, science has striven to separate the here and the now. Meditation and or danger reconstitute the present moment. Strong magnets reveal a body's secrets. A mild mind disarms the soul. Guns don't kill a prayer of deceit. Through them, with them, in them. A novice can raise the moon on a finger. Resting the moon on an amputation tests the skills of a master. Only bodhisattvas can balance no moon on no finger. Joy and comfort there is in one hand clapping, but the sound of no hands clapping, an abyss not worth escaping, like calling a lobotomy successful surgery, or diving into a cup of water and creating no ripple. Artists create an infinite palette with opaque color. A demigod forges infinite pleasure with unchecked power. A god sustains infinite emotion with eternal love. Man is born hungry, and so often dies unsated. Fallacy of the ugly truth. When you pick up a rock and bewilder those who shun the light and set it back into place just so. When you adorn your body in shark teeth and butterfly wings. When you shift to drive, chances are at least 9 in 10 you'll reach your destination. When you seek solitude among trees and hear a squirrel barking, go in peace and love your enemy. A broker, a priest, and a physicist walk into a bar. Ask them to define weighing options. In 20 years, ask their children. When you fear you've lost all your friends, and then realize there were none all along. When failure and success hold a spinning contest, and both hack up a luigi. When time heals all of your wounds except one. When you jump and I say how high, I know you notice I haven't jumped. What the hell? Hell may very well be not the bottom, but the norm. The greatest curse of great talents, mediocrity. One can learn much spending time with the devil. Dreamy and droopy, feed on the devil's ottoman. Make yourself comfortable, not an offer, but an offering. Watching the news on the devil's television, a fair and balanced feeling. Like ancient screams from the burning bull, euphemistic translations, as elusive as clickbait in Pandora's chum box. You don't have to be gullible or greedy to follow the devil on social media. You just gotta want to believe and be willing to follow your dreams all the way to hell. Don't be a dick. Socrates said you can be a dick if it makes you feel good, but you're only hurting yourself. Lao Tzu might have said, when the people are fed and wars begun, the ruler's a dick. Just as a caveman was spearing a deer, another guy raised a fist behind him. The second guy's friend said, don't be a dick. Lawyers who bill by the minute know you'll never read the fine print until you've been dicked. For every creep you see on breaking news, there's a bigger dick that will never be exposed. Passing a bill through Congress is like wading through a river of dicks and losing a shoe midstream. The worst thing in the world is calling out a dick and taking the same dump on someone else. That is pretty shitty. Crossing over. A withering truth, a simple death, forgetting to breathe, shroud without mass, clearer than dragonfly wings, a line of angels passing you gently hand to heaven. When you are small enough to jump from clouds into rainbows, peek through the spaces where colors change, you are now immune to deception, a free form, resource, source, point, less. The president of flesh-eating bacteria speaks in terms of global domination, universal suffering, the right to die, pre-existing conditions of will and power, singular focus, contempt for the other, manifest destiny, open borders, annihilation. What is the lag between the coming singularity and the next big bang? I was Googling, how long can you be in purgatory, and found more people were interested in how long can you be in labor, in a coma, in a hot tub, not necessarily at the same time. If acts of kindness were dollar bills and you were born with a wallet full, would you be sure to spend them all on random beings you meet, or would you be more deliberate, holding your largesse for the deserving? And would it affect the answer if you were given to understand your own salvation depended on you leaving this earth empty handed? The shadow line of empathy. Caption this: nor could I claim it, nor could I own it, nor could I hold it, nor could I keep it, nor could I choose it, nor could I use it, nor was it property, nor was it currency, nor could I call it by its given name or its spirit name. Call me Ibid, call me etc. A footnote in my history, a string on my finger, nor could I find it, nor could I free it, nor could I write it, nor could I read it, nor could I take it with me, nor could I live it, nor could I save it, nor could I salve it, much less to heal it, nor could I be it, nor could it be me, nor could I bless it, nor could I dream it, nor could I join it, nor could I lead or follow. Our paths were parallel or tangential. Nor could I love it, nor could I trust it, nor could I bear it to suffer, nor could I break it like an egg on a like an egg, like a code, like a bone, like a law. Nor could I better it, nor could I best it, nor could I guess it, nor could I bless it. Part 2. Bushi. Come on, Boo. Of an empty rice bowl. Grasping an empty rice bowl without thought, your first impression is what? One sees the form of desire unfulfilled. One feels the warmth of a belly sated. Bushi ate rice exclusively from his dead master's skull for 7 dog years. Boo's master was a dog, whose words were scattered and few like the bones of the just. Joshu's moo was too a dog, barking up the wrong tree for 1,000 years, and more. Boo's dog would often bite a sleeping student in his unenlightened ass, to sound his Buddha nature. Hold my fish. Bushi stared lovingly at a fistful of nothing, like a sepia fisherman posing on the dock with the catch of a century past. How can one keep such a pose solid in the 4th dimension? Living forms differ and elements return. How long before an idea begins to stink? Come here, Boo said, and hold my fish. If I dared to touch it, 3 might have fallen into the sea. Walking with Boo. Walking with Bushi is like walking by yourself, more often than not. Boo says walk with me and then races off, into the future. Sometimes a cell phone rings and no one answers. Is it Boo? Or texts of GPS coordinates for vacant lots on paper streets. Words that don't exist make most sense. If I've learned anything from such encounters, I'd just as soon keep it to myself, or sleep it off in an empty bear den. Don't ask Bushi for directions. When you're in any kind of hurry, don't ask Bushi for directions. If it's straight ahead, he makes you take 4 rights. He points east when he says west. You'll always pass a Starbucks on the wrong side of the highway. The closer it is, the longer it takes. Make sure you start by stopping for gas and topping off the tank. When you've lost your mind on Allison Road, remember he's laughing with you, not at you. 1 minute you're in traffic, then it's tumbleweed and carcasses, highway signs and mile markers, feeling Sudoku answers. Passing the same corner, but the post reads who, what, where, when, why. And you wonder how, until that wonder itself becomes wonder. Then you have arrived. Hold that thought. Hold that thought while I have a sip of coffee. Thank you. Hold that thought. You're rushing home, and Bushi says, hold the door. So you wait. Then you realize his arms are making running motions, but he's taking baby steps just to make you late. It's almost painful waiting on Boo, like watching an ever-boiling pot, sharpening Occam's razor, squaring the circle, or closing the gap between primes. Hold that thought. When gods play poker, they say things like, I'll see your infinity and raise you a universe, covering their eyes with sunspots to hide their intentions, the inscrutable bluffing the omniscient. Got your back. There is comfort when you sense a strong hand on your shoulder, until you realize the hand belongs to Boo and you're on a subway platform, worrying it could be a teachable moment. Lucky you feel, if not enlightened. Lucky you feel, sorry. Lucky you feel, if not enlightened, to turn and find him perplexing a stranger, familiar and reminiscent, the dreamy glaze of Boo's newest victim. You've seen it before in mirrored sunglasses. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. Yawning Zen. Experts spoke of Zen, and Boo yawned. Dilettantes spoke of Zen, and Boo yawned. I asked why the same reaction, and Boo yawned. Persistently masochistic, I begged Boo to elucidate without metaphysics. To the master I yawned from respectful fatigue. To the dilettante I yawned from contempt. You bore me. Do yourself a favor, visit a carrier, and contemplate what Crates said even of Xenocrates himself. Of the earth. Sometimes Boo told me, you fail to see the forest for the trees. And on my in-breath, I thought, you can't just forget the trees when you're growing a forest. But on my out-breath, I said nothing, except tell it to the lumberjack. Boo's a sculptor of sorts, modeling a medium denser than stone and fickle as watery clay on a wheel, the human mind. Like all great artists, he sees you not as a lump, but an unpolished diamond, even before the hammer meets chisel. Zen it is. Before disappearing, Boo told me Zen is riding a bicycle. I left wondering, enlightenment once attained, second nature becomes first nature? Or balance, center and boundary in the unwobbling pivot? Rather yet, while we are spinning our wheels, the truth is pedaling away, dot on a narrowing path. Boo shakes his head. Boo and I had reached a crossroads. Left or right, he said, true path or false, decide as if another life depends on it. You cannot travel both and be one. But Boo, I asked, are we not two? Without a doubt. Still, Boo retorted, concentrate and ask again. To left, the foot trail receded into thick woods. Time tested, I said, are the ancestors' truths. Replied Boo, you may rely on it. To right, open highways unobstructed. Glory awaits, I proffered, where a man steps first. Without a doubt, said Boo. For a master, Boo, you're about as much help as flipping coins, aren't you? Boo shook his head, focusing a watery eye. Watch that watery eye till it focuses, okay. It is decidedly so. Yes, you're right. All of those things Boo says are on the Magic 8 Ball. Waterfall. Boo brought me to a waterfall. Sat we on a rock midstream, not quite beyond the spray and deafening crush of a continuous cascade. My mind began to drift, like debris cycling from eddies. Somewhere downstream I realized Boo's lips were moving, but words were submerged in a roar. Then his glance pierced me like a speared fish. I stared enraptured, and I heard his every word in my own voice. A day without love. Boo and I spent a day without love. Sides by sides we wandered as we mused unspeaking, exploring personal territories. The cloudless sky was high and blue. Iridescent birds of every hue whispered ambrosial harmonies and tunes between sips of nectar from perfumed blooms. Hours became acres, meadows and dells. Soon enough, the sun cast no shadow. I wouldn't say I was parched, but I did notice no sustenance in sight just before my thought turned dry. Boo towed a rock that rolled, revealing a gushing spring below. Reaching shoulder deep in the stream, he produced a concave stone filled with water. Boo cradled the cup in two of his hands and cautioned stern, "Don't waste a drop." I thought to myself, we are only two, and there is more than enough for many, the source being endless to the human eye. Boo clicked his tongue, downcast. If this be but water to your mind, soon it will be but pea, I will be but boo, and you will be but you, and we will have squandered a day without love. Part 3, 20 questions. Okay. So 1. So, would you be willing to be a dog just for a day if it meant a chance for one really good sleep, your body a dead weight on the floor, curled inward, but your neck thrown impossibly back, a deep sigh, whew, and rhythmic belly breaths, here and there a quick jerk as you dream of rabbits or a car speeding by you need to chase? So 2. So, when meditation has taken you so far only, and probably no further, what would you give to be really small, strap on some tiny skis, and explore firsthand the frozen crevices of your brain, starting on bunny trails, maybe where simple childhood thoughts formed in primitive bliss, progressing in skill through the turbulent moguls of life in these haphazard times, Olympian schemes of conquest and valleys of deep despair, sometimes breaking open unexpectedly into brilliant vistas. And do you wonder if the edges of your speeding blades cut impressions and pitfalls and mindscapes where even tinier, braver adventurers make their own discoveries? So 3. So how irked would you be to pay someone a visit surreptitiously on a moonless night, your vengeance incalculable yet imperceptible, and shake your dream catcher over their front lawn, releasing who knows what demons and demigods, foul spirits and acrimonious figments, a coldness seeping inside through swaddles of fleece and down, pettiness blowing fog on a window, middle finger tracing a frozen gesture, and when you are done, and the Lord of Wrath hath conquered, how much do you think has it helped? So say you were young, impetuous and imprudent, impertinent and impudent, if nothing else, a sneaky little imp. Semantic differentials are matters inconsequential for this interrogation. And now you are grown, wise and mature, seasoned and substantial, of note and renown, if nothing else, a credible witness, lounging of an evening, sipping fair trade coffee, browsing some semi-serious mag, probably just scanning photos until something vaguely lures your attention and you recall a scene from a hazy past that little imp named you. Bored on a field trip when no one else was looking, plucking a feather from a shaman's sacred cache, owl, eagle, who knows, who cares, and later scavenging your pockets, pinching it between your fingers, blowing it to the wind, and returning to present a photo, the saddest slumped figure you've ever seen, the caption describing a holy man's demise, shunned by the owl clan after years of calamity and sickness, degenerating generations, the beginning of a dismal ending. Coincidental to your childish indiscretion, how guilty would you feel knowing there is no way you could make it right? And what if it was your progeny suffering the curse? Would it change anything? So 5. So what would it take? I don't want to go so far as to say to buy you, but perhaps to persuade, cajole or convince, or maybe just soften you up a little, like on homecoming when coffee percolates and you breathe deep, earthy and common, elegant and carnal, and you feel real easy and pliable. So what would it take to move you? Were you God? Or how again were you Satan? So 6. So, as far as the eye can see, and a helmet cam, your bravery is unquestioned, leaping from planes without parachute, climbing a sheer faces untethered, smashing glass ceilings bare-knuckled, swimming with sharks. But would you have the guts to like or heart my puppy in the year of the cat? So 7. So how hard is it holding a secret safe, secured in a dungeon, in a stronghold of your soul, by battered and rusty chains for decades, 4 decades? Say something you never actually saw, only saw written on a sandy beach, hours after the tide had wiped clean the narrative, leaving the ghost of a ghost to decipher. But in your heart, the truth is etched. as if in glass, but glass shatters as if carved in canyons by the persistence of water, and rivers run dry. So you keep inventing metaphors to keep the memory alive for the honor of a dead friend, but also to proof it from a world that couldn't possibly understand. I've been holding that secret more than 40 years. So 8. So can you ever tire of plastic dogs chasing plastic cats on plastic grass in plastic yards, breathing plastic air and sweating plastic beads under the plastic sun as plastic children float on plastic dolphins in plastic pools, when your plastic gnome toiling in a plastic garden? And if your plastic friends could see you now, how many little plastic fingers would be liking your plastic world, except for a few socially aware and empathic souls, sad or angry, knowing someday a real creature in a real land or a real sea will be choking on your plastic poop? So 9. So how would it feel to have superhuman strength? Maybe the means to lie on a star and bench press a planet, no little Pluto wannabe, but a big Jupiter kind of planet, or even the will to consume stale diner coffee in a paper to-go cup that says our pleasure to serve you, but still to lack the power to persuade, to get others to like you, or worse yet, to want to be like you. So 10. 32 years after Pav's death. Pav was such a good friend to so many. He was such a great talent, and he really died so far before his time. So Pav, possibly not expecting an answer, but asking you who knew both the value of presence and the power of number, what would you have made of this strange alchemy when time collapses the years of your life, reversed in the stream, the years of your dying? 23, 32. And what would you have given, what could we have given to live one day different, reclaiming a beachhead where time and mortal tides cannot erase our names, or carving clay in caves, where no man returns to dust, and in a balmy ease rejoined and rejoiced, amiably cracking a joke in a sweaty brew, raising a toast to our mutual muses, word and meter, knowing if and when we were there, we were everywhere. So 11. So not that I don't care how it feels when you find someone isn't who you thought they were, who they appeared to be, what they were supposed to be, or who you wanted them to be, even though that may be in many respects more significant and instructive. But where do you feel it first? A flicker of your eyelid when dawn's light pierces your window, or a tightening of your gut before deliverance of a body blow, a general nausea, or the ache of allergic fatigue? Or maybe in your big toe, a bout of gout, or an arthritic knee, prejudging weather, an epic storm, or the tingling concurrent with lightning. So 12. So have you ever had justice on your side, typed a perfect retort, irrefutably witty and suave, convincing and airtight, footnotes and citations triple-checked, guaranteed to earn 15 minutes of fame, and after a soul-searching session, deeper by far perhaps than a moment deserves, consider that a fragile ego might be shattered, or a friendship abandoned, or a jackass embarrassed, then taking a moment to savor your glory, and in humble magnanimity, click delete. And could you imagine, given the same circumstances, doing it again? Sometimes the next time you might be so pissed you just would do it. You just would do it. So 13 or 13 so's. So if I told a mute swan to clam up. So if I unsnapped a snapping turtle. So if I barked at a catfish. So if I unplugged an electric eel. So if I listened for thunder after a lightning bug. So if I put a halo on a Tasmanian devil. So if I knocked on a dormouse. So if I convicted a killer whale. So if I saddled a horsefly. So if I bore a bear. So if I told a gull to wait their turn. So if I wished on a starfish. So if I stole from a robin. So there you go. So 14. So have you ever had infinite patience theoretically. So 15. So if one breezy day, when everything seems to be going your way, God hands you a script named My Road to Happiness, saying, by the way, it only works if you do each step in order. Whatever you do, don't drop it. Which of course you do, just in time to see the back of the spirit fading in a mist, but clearly shrugging shoulders and shaking head as pages scatter all over creation. How long before you stop frantically chasing random papers, playing the proverbial chicken without a head, to notice the pages are unnumbered? So 16. So, not necessarily from personal experience or eyewitness observations, can you calculate or estimate the infinitesimal probability of a fallible being surviving to a respectable age in an imperfect world, or even a perfect one, and by will or by pure chance, doing everything perfectly, stepping onto ice with bare feet and not falling, extricating oneself from the maze of life without GPS, or the scent of cheese containing the victor's ego and consoling the downtrodden with equanimity? So 17. So do you think a child, mind fully in the moment, running downhill as fast as he or she can for the first time ever, considers whether the path of least resistance for bodies in motion is necessarily most effective over time and great distances, when a lack of obstacles leaves the subject open to law of diminishing returns? As they are known to say, a reward awaits those helping themselves, and hard work paying off. And of course, there's always serendipity, chance, happenstance, and good fortune. The hand that turns the hourglass, right? So 18. So, even though I know you are a master of self-discipline, I so want to say deception, ego negation, formlessness, and you hold the lotus for hours without cramping or blinking or missing a breath, and maybe you have even walked on fire, I've been compelled to ask, is there any human thing you wouldn't give up before selling your soul? That comes pretty harsh at the end, doesn't it? So 19. So you're cruising your spaceship, wrist draped over the wheel, one hand on the throttle, solar wind in your hair, head bopping smoothly to the coolest playlist, and literally from nowhere appears an orange diamond sign saying bump. And you hit what seems like turbulence, which makes no sense to you, but gets your attention. Just enough so you're not necessarily surprised when another reads bridge out ahead. Do you stop and turn back, or do you assume God is playing tricks and just floor it, even as you squint into the blackest black you've never seen? And would it make a difference if I told you it was a space wagon and your family was sleeping in the back seat? Would you take that chance? So 20. So when I'm sharing time with my inquisitive pup, feeling grounded and free beside our thinking tree, the breathing narrative of a certain place, a sequestration of carbon and water, a squatter's retreat, a solar reprieve, I think I know, but I ask anyway. Do you think this tree can be for me a living dream catcher, that it understands more about me perhaps than I myself, maybe capturing demons in digested leaves, in turn returning to earth and recovering in winter to begin once more? There you go. Write this book. I'll give it 5 stars, to tell you the truth.